Ladies, happy Saturday to you. And I'm just going to make sure that we are going live. Again, sorry about the technical issues in the last video. How are you doing today, gorgeous lady? Oh, Saturday. Actually, today is Sunday. Yes, thank you for bearing with me. I had a really busy Saturday, so I'm actually tuning in on Sunday today. How's your weekend been so far? Gorgeous lady, I would love to hear. So today we are going to be digging into such an important topic. It is a crunchy one. It is a challenging one. It is one that is designed, in my opinion, to grow you, to help you grow into the relational goddess who you were born to be. Okay, and we all know that sometimes the things that grow us are actually the things that challenge us the most. And that is what we're going to be talking about today. So if you're not sure what exactly it is I'm talking about this month's theme, which is building ownership. Okay, taking ownership in your relationships, in your relational life. And gorgeous lady, let me know if you're here live, because I would love to interact with you and chat with you, answer any questions that you have about this. If you're watching on the replay, then just give us a little cheeky hashtag replay. Let's get this video spreading in the community, and just leave any comments as you go. I always read them and I love to hear what this brings up for you. Okay, so taking ownership, what is it? Why is it so challenging? And why is it so important in your life? Okay, taking ownership means taking responsibility for the part that you are playing in your relationships. Okay, it can also mean taking responsibility for the role. Hey Laura, yay, I'm so glad someone's here. Feel free to comment with anything that resonates with you, gorgeous friend of mine. So ownership, taking responsibility of your part in your relationships or in your relationship journey. Okay, so taking responsibility for the way that you are shaping this relational journey that you're on. Why is it so challenging for us to do that? Why is it so challenging for us to look and to acknowledge the part that we play in our relationships? If you want to share, if you're watching live or on the replay, feel free to share why that's so challenging for you. I think for me, one of the reasons that it's so challenging is because taking ownership requires us to take an ego hit of realizing that we're not perfect. Okay, that we have areas to grow. And this is why I mentioned early in the video that taking ownership is one of the quickest, most effective, most amazing ways that we can actually grow into the relational goddess who we were born to be. Because when we take ownership of our part in our relationship or in our friendship or in any relationship that we're in, we start to acknowledge, to admit, to witness in ourselves the ways that we can grow, the ways that we impact things, right? Because when we take ownership, what we're doing is we are saying, I am letting go of the story I have that I am a victim here. And this can be really challenging. And one of the reasons that I think as well that this can be so challenging is if we have a history of being in relationships when we were growing up where our ownership was really turned against us, right? Like we were blamed. Our part was used as a weapon against us. We can kind of learn over time to stop taking ownership, because taking ownership means taking blame. It means I'm wrong and you're a victim, and I don't want to admit that. I don't want to be the bad guy. I don't want to be the bad person. So let me know if this resonates with you, sister. But the truth is, taking ownership is not about being the bad guy. It's not about being the person who is wrong. Taking ownership simply means I own my power in this. I own my power in every relationship that I'm in. And this doesn't mean that I'm taking away your part and the things that you're doing, but it does mean that I'm owning my choices and I'm owning the way that I impact our relationship. So taking ownership is one of the most powerful muscles we can ever build in our life, in our relationships, because it moves us from being a victim, like in terms of our mentality, being a victim of other people, of other people's actions, of life, of society, and it empowers us to be a creator of our own journey. Okay. How does that feel for you, lady? So taking ownership is something that, in my experience, it's easier to do when we are in a relationship with someone, simply because we are confronted with our shadow. We are confronted with triggers, with ruptures, with challenging moments more often. So we have the ability, the opportunity to look at those moments and say, what can I take responsibility for here? Now, what does this mean for my single sisters today? If you're watching today and you're single, okay, and you're thinking, okay, I recognize what you're saying. I need to build my ownership muscle. I want to build my ownership muscle so that when I'm in a relationship in future, I'm going to have this muscle and I'm going to be able to create a really healthy relationship with my future partner. How do I practice taking ownership now? Okay. I want to start with a little story, actually, because I think it's so powerful when we share our stories. And, you know, feel free to share yours in the comments. I would love to hear your moments of taking ownership as well. So I'm going to share a story from my last job, which was I was working for the NHS, the hospital. And I was really new in the job, and I made some kind of clerical mistake, okay? And my mistake, my error, had impacted the entire clinic, okay? Nobody was hurt, nothing like that, but there was a big disruption because of a mistake that I'd made. So, sisters, when I came into work the next day, one of the first things that one of my colleagues said to me was, you know that the sister in the department, you know, she is really irked, let's say, by what you did yesterday. And instantly, of course, my nervous system activates, which usually happens when we do something wrong. Our ego wants to come in and defend. But at that point in my life, in that chapter, I was well into the practice of developing my ownership muscle. I'd been practicing it in all of my relationships, and it was in the forefront of my mind to take ownership. So what I decided to do was, I'd never met the sister before. I was brand new in the job. I asked, who is she? Where is she? I saw her across the room. She was a short lady with grey hair. Her name was Fiona. And I walked straight up to Fiona and I said, Fiona, I am the person who XYZ yesterday. I am so sorry for how that impacted the clinic. I thought da 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 da, but now I see that's not the case, and in future I'm going to ba 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 ba. And I'm so sorry for all of the stress that that caused you yesterday. And gorgeous lady, how do you think Fiona responded to that? So as I looked at this short Scottish little firecracker of a woman, I saw that her irritation that was on her face when she realized that she'd met the person who had done the crime, the irritation on her face, something incredible happened. The irritation on her face actually started to melt away, and I could see that she was softening. And she said something like, oh, that's fine. Yeah, just basically don't do it again, but that's okay. And she walked off. And I could see that she was kind of shocked by how forcefully I'd taken ownership of this. There were no excuses, no kind of quiet voice. I went in there like a bull in a china shop to take my ownership, because I knew, sister, that my ownership is my power. And for most people who are of a certain relational and emotional maturity, they are going to respond to you in that way. When you take ownership of your part, their defenses go down. They're going to blame you less, not more. They're going to blame you less because they see that you've taken your part. So can you see how relationships are like a dynamic? If we don't take our part, the other person tells us, you've got a part to take here. But when we take our part in a mature relationship, the other person is like, okay, you've taken it, so I don't need to take it anymore. And Laura's just saying, such a great story of taking ownership. Thank you so much, gorgeous lady. And what I would say is, of course, there are going to be people in your life who are not safe to take ownership with. Okay, people who weaponize things against you, either in the moment when you say it, or later on when they bring it up. And those are people where you can set your boundaries with, of course, and you can take ownership in private. You can write it down, you can share it with a friend, you can build your muscle in private. And then there are those relationships with people who can actually, who have the maturity to respond to your ownership in a really receptive way. And those are the relationships that can be nurtured. Those are the relationships where you're both going to be practicing your ownership muscle. Because here's the thing, sister, when we're in relationships with someone who doesn't have an ownership muscle, or when we don't have an ownership muscle in our relationships, what happens is the person who doesn't have the ownership muscle starts saying to the other person, I am just a victim of you. And they might not use that word victim, but they might say something like, I don't have a part in this, it's you. I don't have a part in this, it's you. And that is the opposite of partnership. Okay, when one person claims to be the result of another person, and they say that the other person has the power, the other person has the responsibility, the other person has the whole weight of the relationship or of the conflict, that is not a healthy partnership. And this is why we have to, ladies, start building our ownership muscle. Because when you're in a relationship with someone who has a level of emotional maturity where they're also open to building their ownership muscle, it is really important that we step up. We step up to the call. Instead of giving in to our ego's defense to say, no, I'm right and you're wrong, I'm a victim and you're the bad guy, to rise above that and to claim our power, to claim our ownership, and to claim our part in any situation that there is. And I can't remember if I mentioned this earlier in the video, but just in case I haven't, taking ownership of your part does not mean taking ownership of the other person's part. Okay? So when we take ownership of our part, that doesn't eclipse the other person. We're not taking ownership of their feelings or their behaviors or their responsibilities. All we're doing is we're saying, this is my part in the tango, and I'm going to own that with you. So how does that feel, gorgeous lady? Let me know. And how do you feel? Actually, this is a really important question. How do you feel your ownership muscle is? Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being, I've practiced this so much that as soon as something happens and my victim story kicks in, which is normal, by the way, as soon as that kicks in, I am in the habit at this point of taking ownership. I take ownership in my life more than 80% of the time, more than 90% of the time. And then 0 is, I've never thought about it this way before, ever. And I am much more invested in my defensiveness. And 5 is like, sometimes, depends how stressed I am. Depends who it's with or what's going on. Give yourself a rating. You can leave it in the comments, or you can do it again in your own mind, heart, soul, piece of paper. But reflect on your own ownership muscle here. Okay. Now, what can you do if you are single, ladies? And I'm not going to start singing, but you know the song that just came into my head. What are you going to do, single ladies, if you don't have that container, that intense pressure cooker container of a relationship where you can practice this? How can you build your muscle? Well, what I would say is a great place to start is to start looking at your friendships or your friendship life. You might think to yourself, well, I don't have many close friendships. Well, that's something to look at, and that's something to ask yourself about. Taking ownership. So what I am inviting you to do, and again, you can do this in the comments, or you can make a post in the group. Remember that it's entirely private, or you can do it on a piece of paper at home, is to have a think about your friendship life right now. Paying particular attention to any feelings of frustration or anything that's a little bit crunchy in there. And ask yourself, what is my part in this? What can I own here? Okay. How have I shaped this dynamic? What can I do differently moving forward? And you can own this in the comments. In fact, I encourage you, because the way that we grow into the relational goddess we were born to be is to practice, is to practice, is to practice, is to practice. So I'm going to very strongly encourage you, if you want to grow in this area, to own it in the comments, to say, my part is, and then just fill in the blank. My part is. And remembering, gorgeous lady, to have compassion for yourself, because you're human, because you are not perfect, because that's okay, because you're growing, because you're healing, because you're on a journey. And having your part simply means that you're human and you're owning your power. You're human and you're owning your power, gorgeous lady. So I would love to know how that resonates with you. It's been so lovely, like sitting down and having a chat with you today about this. It is such an important topic. I've also covered this in my newsletter this week by email, and I'm going to be sending out a lot more like really great content by email, kind of shifting my relationship with my newsletter. So if you're not already receiving that and you want to receive more little juicy tidbits on that, then you can DM me your email address. We're going to be covering ownership for the entire month, both in the newsletter and in this group. We're going to be covering ownership as a single lady, ownership as someone who is dating, ownership as someone who is in a relationship, and ownership as someone who is ending a relationship. So we're going to be covering all bases. Lady, I've got you covered. I have got you covered. Okay. And I think that's it. Is there anything else I want to say today? I'm going to remember as soon as I come off of this video. Well, we'll leave it there for now. But gorgeous lady, I'm sending so much love to you today. I hope that you are having the best weekend that's available to you. If you have any questions about taking ownership in your life, any specifics, feel free to send them to me and I will do a future live video just for you. Okay, I'm sending so much love your way. I'll see you later, Laura, and anyone who's watching on the replay, and I will see you back in the community really soon. Okay. Mwah.